On this episode of In the Fight, NATO officials give us a look into the future for Afghanistan's military. Marines recount their time spent at Camp Leatherneck. Pilots provide close air support from an F-16. We meet a unit that does the military's heavy lifting. And we take a behind-the-scenes look at one of the military's highest honors. The ISAF mission in Afghanistan is winding down, and various NATO countries are bringing their troops home. NATO Channel correspondent Mel Preen speaks with officials and ISAF commanders about the military's future in Afghanistan and brings us this story.
Resolute Support, as it's known, or RSM, will focus on training, advising and assisting the security ministries of the Afghan government and the senior staff of the Afghan National Security Forces. The mission will involve approximately 12,000 troops. The US will contribute the majority share, while the rest will be made up by other NATO nations and partners. In order for RSM to go ahead, a legal framework had to be approved by the Afghan parliament. That's only just happened. The delay has meant nations need more time to assign RSM personnel, so the US is covering the gap until other allies come forward.
The United States has very generously offered to provide a number of troops who will bridge a gap, and that gap is a gap between the end of the ISAF mission and the arrival of some European contingents who are being allocated to the Resolute Support Trade Advise and Assist mission.
Across Afghanistan, ISAF bases have been shrinking or closing down for the past few years. Overseeing the reduction in base numbers is the Deputy Commander of ISAF Joint Command, General Richard Nugi.
18 months ago, we had over 800 bases in the country. We're going down to many, many fewer than that. As I say, we've closed 80 this year alone. And we're going to have what we've called the four corners. So we're going to have Herat, Mazar-al-Sharif, Kandahar and Jalalabad and Kabul.
Troops under RSM will be spread across these four corners and Kabul, meaning the mission will reach the main provinces, providing the Afghan security forces and institutions the support they need.
Behind an army that fights is a huge organisation, budgets, maintenance of their vehicles, logistics to make sure they have enough food, they have enough water, they have enough ammunition, they have enough lubricants for their vehicles and all that sort of stuff. That's what they're not so good at, and that's what we need to continue to train them at.
The Enduring Partnership Declaration was signed at the NATO summit in Lisbon in 2010. Among its commitments, NATO has pledged to support Afghanistan in capacity-building efforts to help educate military officers. How this effort will interface with RSM is yet to be specified, but for certain, NATO's committed to Afghanistan for years to come. For NATO Channel, this is Mel Preen.
1st Squadron, part of 2nd Brigade Combat Team, 101st Airborne Division, is one of the last units to conduct combat patrols in Afghanistan. Army broadcasting correspondent Gail McCabe went on patrol with these soldiers and brings us this story.
And which times is that?
The sharpest tool in his kit are the tidbits he picks up in the towns and villages that surround Bagram Airfield.
Kind of updates from the locals, see how everything's been security-wise. Kind of find what the buzz is around the shops.
First Lieutenant Jay Hurst is 24 years old, born and raised in the Army. His platoon, self-named Ghost Platoon, is a recon element of the 101st Airborne, one of the last combat units in this part of Afghanistan.
You're out every day for 12, 13 hours. By the time you finish mission, debrief and go to sleep, then, it's time for the next one.
The village is one of many that populate a 10-mile area known as the Bagram Bowl. Around here, the Taliban are as familiar a face to the locals as the U.S. soldiers, but the difference is huge.
Nobody likes the Taliban, so I mean, these people, they feel safer when we're around.
They know they're effective because what they do goes unnoticed.
Because it's something that leaves the public's mind that we're still over here and that we're still on the ground.
Ground that, according to Ghost Platoon, is making headway, but is still dangerous.
The police and the army, they've got work to do. They're going to have their hands full. Very good.
It's understood U.S. combat forces are on their way out, but Afghans also know Americans like these will still be here. Gail McCabe, Afghanistan.
A recent transition marked a dramatic milestone as Marines with 1st Battalion, 2nd Marine Regiment withdrew from Camp Leatherneck. Marine Corporal John Martinez listens to some of these Marines as they recount their time in Helmand Province.
On October 27th, 1st Battalion, 2nd Marines, Weapons Company, parts of H&S Company, and Alpha Company were the last units to retrograde and withdraw out of Camp Leatherneck, Afghanistan, and effectively close down Marine infantry unit activity in Helmand Province.
We had 2 companies in the battle space providing security, doing security patrols, disrupting enemy actions out there in the battle space. We had 2 companies on the wire, manning the military entry point and guard posts for Camp Leatherneck. I think that the Marines performed phenomenally. They did a great job. It's been a long workup and a long deployment, and to see everything come together and the amount of work that the Marines did, some of it was kind of monotonous, especially when you're standing post for 12 hours a day. It's not as exciting, but they did it. They were disciplined enough to keep their guard up. Nobody penetrated the wire while we were in charge of Camp Leatherneck and Bastion, and they did a phenomenal job. They worked very hard.
I think what I would remember the most is just watching the small unit leader execute. The Marines did a phenomenal job, just operating independently. Just knowing that we transitioned from Afghanistan back home and turned over a better product to the Afghans, and knowing that the small unit leader is the one that got it accomplished was probably the best moment.
The Marines did fabulous stuff, and the reason they came back the way they did is because they did the right things all the time. And it's a joy to be able to bring everybody back safely and soundly to their families. I think the biggest single takeaway is that we own a little bit of history, Marine Corps history. So being the last unit in Afghanistan, and not only being the last unit, but doing such a great job. I think 20 years from now, we'll look back at the history books. We'll see 1, 2 in those books, and we'll be saying, hey, I was part of that. They own that. They'll carry that with them forever, I think.
I'm Staff Sergeant Christopher Ryan, deployed here in IUD Air Base with the 379 Expeditionary Security Forces Squadron. I want to say hi to my wife, Angela, back in Spokane, Washington. Thank you for your support and love, and hope to see you soon.
This is Staff Sergeant John Ayer. I'm at Air Force Mortuary Affairs Operations in Dover Air Force Base, Delaware. I want to say hi to my family back in Colorado Springs. I love you all, and I'll see you soon.
Coming up, pilots provide close air support from an F-16. And we meet a unit that does the military's heavy lifting. Check out dvidshub.net for the latest accurate and reliable information as In the Fight continues. At its busiest, Camp Leatherneck was home to about how many personnel? The answer when we return.
There are symbols that represent loss. There are symbols that represent strength. And there are symbols that represent both. Remember, respect, and honor our fallen military heroes and the sacrifice and strength of surviving families who wear the gold star pins.
With the new Military 24/7 app from Divots, you turn your favorite mobile device into a window to the front lines. Connect with your nation's finest men and women through our video and photography archives and stay up to date with news reported directly from service members. Quickly share information and breaking stories with friends via Facebook, Twitter, or email. News, photos, video. Your military 24/7.
Five oceans. Seven continents. Whatever it takes. Wherever it takes us. America's Navy, a global force for good.
At its busiest, Camp Leatherneck was home to about how many personnel? The answer is C, 20,000. Since World War I, the U.S. Air Force has provided close air support to the military's ground forces. Air Force Staff Sergeant Daniel Negrete introduces us to a few F-16 pilots and gives us a unique look from inside the cockpit.
Every fighter pilot remembers the first time they employed in combat and how special that moment was, because all your life you've wanted to do something. And fighter pilot is not just a job, it's an attitude, it's a mentality.
On the one hand, you feel a sense of accomplishment at doing a thing that you've been training to do it right and to do it well on your first try or the first time you're really tested. On the other hand, you are, for the first time in your life, dealing with situations that are matters of life and death for people.
You realize how ops are different here in a deployed environment than they are back home. But you've never really had the experience to try your hand at any of those. You know, how do you deal with responsibilities that you might have around here that aren't the same as back home?
I grew up very quickly based on some of the deployments I did when I was a younger aviator in my career. It all boils down to a handful of sorties to where you make a difference, you personally make a difference, your flight makes a difference.
Some of the situations that you hear about and you hope you never find yourself in. I was flying with Hollywood. We're out doing just some base defense type stuff, kind of low key, watching over, looking at different sites when we got the call that there was a troops in contact about, say, 40, 50 miles away, which only takes us about 5 minutes to get there.
Be advised, we just had a medevac, multiple Americans wounded.
We checked in. These guys are obviously, they're screaming. They had taken casualties.
As soon as I key in the frequency to go to talk to the JTAC, you can hear the screaming in the background. You can hear the bullets firing in the background. You can hear him breathing heavy because he is running.
We heard the dreaded words, danger close, which meaning we're going to be employing in essence, right in the middle of their fight.
The comms were terrible. I don't know if it's because his antenna's bouncing around as he's running down the streets trying to avoid fire, but I'm getting half of it. Hollywood's getting half of it.
Well, our guys are getting shot up. We need those buildings dropped now.
You know, we were trying to sort this out. It was very hectic, and our comfort level of where these bombs would go was not completely there yet.
He's clipping for me, and I'm not comfortable dropping this bomb until we find out exactly what they want in the middle of a town.
We're trying to piece this together, and the one thing I will never forget is if you don't drop those effing bombs right now, Americans are going to die.
Americans are going to die if you don't drop the bomb.
And at the time, you want to absolutely make sure. I mean, the worst thing for any fighter pilot or anyone in this type of scenario would be to drop and to hurt or kill friendly people on the ground.
We finally got it all together and able to put down a bomb, and you could just hear the calm in his voice.
Sniper, good effect.
And it was a big sigh of relief. We landed and were met by the squadron commander. They had already called to let us know that what we did that day saved American lives.
Who can you call when you need to transport heavy equipment over mountainous terrain quickly? Army Staff Sergeant Rich Stoll introduces us to just the unit.
It's cold and it's late at night, but these guys are just getting started.
There's a generator, 5 my aircraft. There's 463 up out, and there's 2 more kickers that go on this bird.
Meet Bravo Company, 3rd Battalion, 82nd Combat Aviation Brigade. It's the Chinook Company, the heavy lifters. Chinooks are big and powerful. They're also versatile.
Since we've actually come here to Afghanistan, we've noticed the capabilities of the Chinook and how strong they are in this high mountainous terrain here in RC East. We just infilled 9,000 pounds of personnel to a 5,500-foot mountaintop, and that's one of the lowest LZs we've actually been to this year.
Bravo Company's mission has 2 main parts. General support includes getting supplies to those who need them. The Chinooks can carry pallets of food, ammo, and military equipment. They can even sling load wheeled vehicles, other helicopters, and artillery pieces. Of course, they do all this both day and night.
On a Saturday night, we'll go fly for maybe 5 to 6 hours, moving cargo from fob to fob, moving packs here, moving packs there, ripping people in, ripping people out, taking needed parts to Shank or any other locations that they need as mission essential parts or ammo or food or anything they need.
The other part of their mission is direct support.
Tonight we did an air assault, or what we call a direct operation support mission. Pretty much we took, had a customer, they need to be infilled to a certain location. They went up to their target and we exfilled them the same night. It was infill and exfil night.
Whether they're moving food, ammunition, or troops, no job is too big.
So the capabilities of the aircraft far exceed, the capabilities of other helicopters, and being able to put boots on the ground, mass force on a spot, and still have power left over. We're the only aircraft that can fly like that out here in this terrain.
Reporting from Eastern Afghanistan, I'm Army Staff Sergeant Rich Stoll.
They've been entertaining audiences for decades. Once again, the Harlem Globetrotters are paying tribute to service members and their families during their Hometown Heroes initiative. Airman First Class Amika Moe got up close and personal with the ambassadors of goodwill and brings us this story.
In the past 11 years, the Harlem Globetrotters have been entertaining troops and their families all over the world. With their famous tradition of hoop wizardry, basketball artistry, and one-of-a-kind family entertainment, the Harlem Globetrotters kept Team Anderson on and off their feet.
It was excellent. I remember seeing them for the first time when I was about my son's age, probably about five or six with my dad when he was in the Marine Corps. So it was great being able to experience it with my kids today.
This 11-game tour through U.S. military bases in Guam and Japan allows the Globetrotters to show their appreciation for those men and women serving their country.
I just think it's important to be able to travel over here or wherever you guys are stationed and be able to give back because, like I said, you guys, you travel all around the world and protect us, and I think it's great that we come and pay our respects and give back to you guys.
For the 6th consecutive year, the tour features a specially created camouflage basketball, which will be used along with their iconic red, white, and blue basketball. This military-inspired basketball will also be used during the Harlem Globetrotters Hometown Heroes initiative back in the U.S., which pays tribute to active, retired, and wounded members of the military.
It's amazing. Honestly, for me, it's a very humbling experience. The military members look at us as their heroes, but to me, they're our heroes. They're the reason why we can go and play, and put smiles on people's face all across the world.
Reporting from Anderson Air Force Base, Guam, I'm Airman First Class Amika Moe.
Hi, my name is Sergeant Evan Marcotte, here with Fox Company, 3rd and the 126. Currently deployed to Camp Leatherneck, Kuwait. I just want to send a big shout out to my friends and family back home. Love and miss you guys.
Hola, soy Laura Lozano. Estoy estacionada en Vicenza, Italy. Quiero mandar saludos a mi familia in Oakdale, California.
Hi, my name is Specialist Andres Sandin. I'm here in Afghanistan with the 356 Broadcast Operations Detachment. Just wanted to tell my wife, Sarah Duggan, I love you and I hope to see you soon.
Coming up, we take a behind-the-scenes look at one of the military's highest honors. And we'll showcase some of the best photos from our service members as In the Fight, presented by Divids, continues. In what year was the Tomb of the Unknowns dedicated? The answer when we return.
I want to give a shout out to my family and friends.
I want to send a shout out to my husband,
to my parents, my family back home.
I'd like to give a shout out to my girlfriend.
To my family and friends in Lansing, Michigan.
To my family out in Tucson, Arizona.
My beautiful wife and children in Des Moines, Iowa.
To everybody in Texas.
In York, Pennsylvania.
Colorado Springs, Colorado.
Chicago, Illinois.
Harrisonburg, Virginia.
Orlando, Florida. Oceanside, California.
And Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri.
I love you guys. I miss you. And I hope I'll see you soon.
When you put on the uniform, you are held to a higher standard.
A lot of times, you're not going to know what's going to be thrown at you, so you need to be ready for anything.
Stress can affect every Marine and Marine family.
It's very hard for me to have a career when we're always moving around.
We have the same bills that everybody else does.
And you never want to let your staff NCOs down.
The De-Stress Line provides anonymous counseling for Marines and Marine families when it's needed most. It takes courage to ask for help. Call today and let us help you win your personal battles.
In what year was the Tomb of the Unknowns dedicated? The answer is C, 1921. It is inscribed with the words, "Here rests in honored glory an American soldier, known but to God, and is a symbol for all of the sacrifices that have been made." Army Staff Sergeant Christopher Ballantyne gives us a look behind the scenes as to what it takes to become a guard for the Tomb of the Unknowns.
The Sentinel's creed. My dedication to this sacred duty is total and wholehearted. In the responsibility.
The Tomb of the Unknown Soldier is a monument dedicated to servicemen who gave everything in defense of our country. Located in Arlington National Cemetery, Virginia, and attracting millions of visitors each year, the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier has been guarded 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year for the past 77 years. But what exactly does it take to be a Sentinel? Selfless service, training, time, and ultimately perfection. And it all starts with volunteering.
Basically, all soldiers are selected on a volunteer basis. Nobody's forced to come down here. That way we know we're getting a soldier who really wants to be down here. So we put soldiers through 2 different types of training. It could either be a 2-week TDY class, as we call it, or it could be a 30-day TDY class.
All the candidates' uniforms are torn apart and rebuilt from the ground up in order to achieve their standard of perfection.
Putting time, putting work into your uniforms, getting them good, is just the same as you doing well outside, because it's honoring the unknowns. So every coat of polish I put on my shoes, every time I shine my windows and boogers, that's for them.
At the end of the TDY cycle, candidates are tested on their uniform, outside performance, rifle manual, and reciting 7 pages of knowledge verbatim. On average, about 60% of candidates will not graduate the TDY cycle. Successful candidates are counseled, assigned to a relief, issued Tomb Guard uniforms, and dubbed Newmen. Newmen assist the reliefs in preparing Sentinels prior to guard changes, work on building and maintaining uniforms, and are given more knowledge to study. They're constantly evaluated and endure 3 more tests before earning the privilege to take the Guard Tomb of the Unknown Soldier Identification Badge Test and receive the distinction of being called a Sentinel. On average, the entire process takes 6 to 9 months with an overall attrition rate of 90% and proves why the Tomb Guard badge is the 2nd least awarded identification badge in the United States Army, only second to the Army Astronaut badge. If a tomb card passes their badge test, their hard work, dedication to perfection, selfless service, and tireless efforts accumulate in a badge ceremony with members of the regiment, friends, and family. But for the Sentinels, the prize is not another piece to add to their uniform. It is about honoring those that gave their all.
You are out there guarding the unknowns for those people who never got that satisfaction of burying their loved ones. And I just feel an overwhelming sense of pride to be able to do that.
And while the extreme weather conditions, long hours, and high standards would dissuade volunteers from coming forward, the Sentinels all stated it was their greatest decision.
It'll change you as a person, it'll change you as a soldier, teach you how to be a leader, teach you how to be led. You'll learn more about yourself than you ever thought you will. It'll push you to the edge physically, mentally, and then it'll push you some more.
Surrounded by well-meaning crowds by day, alone in the thoughtful peace of night, this soldier will in honor glory rest under my eternal vigilance.
DVIDS is a 24/7 operation that provides a timely, accurate, and reliable connection between the media and the military serving worldwide. Through a network of over 200 portable satellite transmitters around the globe and a distribution hub in Atlanta, Georgia, DVIDS gives you access to the front lines with live and archived broadcast video, still imagery, and print products. Visit our website at dvidshub.net and search through our enormous video and photo library. Register on our website to gain complete access to high-definition content, along with breaking news alerts and webcasts from top military officials. For questions or comments about In the Fight or DVIDS, you can email us at ondemand@dvidshub.net or follow us on Twitter and Facebook. As we close, we feature some of the best photos that DVIDS has to offer as we listen to Eddie Horst's composition, Pangea. See you next time, In the Fight.